had a secluded beach house in Maine. Modern from the outside, cozy on the inside, but strangely cold. The walls seemed to hum, ever so lightly, like something breathing. At 3:09 a.m., both of them woke up suddenly. Not because of a sound, but because of its absence. No waves, no wind, just silence, until a whisper broke through the hallway. "Are you still awake?" It was low, playful, male. James got up with a flashlight and walked slowly to the door. Everything was locked, all windows shut, nothing outside. He returned to bed. As soon as he closed his eyes, I said, "Are you still awake?" Closer now, as if right outside the bedroom. They left the next morning to find help. But their rental car wouldn't start. The engine refused to turn. A neighbor finally stopped by afternoon, an old man with stormy eyes. When they told him what they heard, he didn't blink. He pointed toward the beach and said, "That house was built over the old drowned village. People didn't just die here. They stayed." That night, they slept in shifts. Sarah woke to see James sleepwalking toward the ocean. She screamed his name, but he kept going. The whisper echoed again, now from within the waves. "Come back home." James stopped just inches from the tide, barefoot, eyes closed. When she pulled him back, he whispered softly, "She said it's warmer down there." Later, Sarah found seaweed wrapped around his ankle, but they hadn't touched the water. The next evening, water started dripping from the ceiling, salty and cold. They looked up and found a stain in the shape of a hand. At midnight, the floorboards bulged like something was underneath. James whispered in his sleep, "I remember drowning." Sarah left alone before dawn. James was never seen again. The beach house is still listed. Half the guests never leave a review. 2. The cabin with the taped windows. 3 friends, Neil, Varun, and Tanya, rented a cabin in Colorado for New Year's. Off-grid, snowy, no cell signal, just them and the firewood. But something was odd. Every window had black duct tape around its edges. Thick, fresh, not old, like someone had just sealed them. They joked about ghosts and mountain cults, until Tanya found a journal in a kitchen drawer. Only one line was written repeatedly: "Don't untape the windows. Don't look outside." At night, the wind didn't howl, it whispered. And the cabin creaked, not like old wood, but like footsteps pacing above. Tanya swore she saw someone standing in the tree line when she went to pee. No coat, no shoes, just staring. Neil laughed it off until their car lights flickered on, by themselves. They tried to call for help, but all electronics were dead. On the second night, the tape on the kitchen window had been peeled, from the outside. Varun stayed awake with a fire poker all night. At 2:46 a.m., a soft knock came on the window. Tanya, trembling, peeked out. A face, but it had no eyes. Just black pits and a mouth slowly stretching open. It smiled, and vanished. They left the next morning, running through the snow. But weeks later, Tanya found strips of black tape under her pillow. Neil now keeps waking up with frostbite on his fingers, despite living in Miami. Sometimes, when he looks into his window's reflection, his eyes aren't his own. Just empty pits, matching the ones that smiled back that night. Tanya now sleeps with her curtains nailed shut. One night she heard a soft voice whisper, "You looked." She burned the tape she found, but the ashes rearranged themselves. Into a face, into a warning. Keep watching. The next nightmare is closer than you think. 3. The hotel room that wasn't booked. Ibrahim and his wife checked into a hotel in Istanbul, late evening. Their reservation, room 616. The concierge hesitated for a second, just a flicker, then handed them the key. The 6th floor was quiet. Too quiet. Room 616 had a different colored door. Peeling paint, no peephole. Inside, the air felt ancient. The moment they entered, the room phone rang. Ibrahim answered. Static. Then a voice. "You shouldn't be here. This room is sealed." He ran downstairs. The manager looked alarmed. "There is no room 616, he said. He brought out the blueprints. The sixth floor ended at 615. No space, no plumbing, nothing beyond. When they returned, the hallway looked wrong. Longer, dimmer. Their room was gone. Number 616. Only smooth wall. They searched frantically, but couldn't find where they'd slept. Until they checked their phone's photo gallery. A picture of the room, but everything was off. Distorted furniture, shadows with no source. And in the mirror behind them, a tall figure with burnt skin watching. A month later, they returned to that hotel. But there was no sixth floor at all. Only 5. But every once in a while, when Ibrahim dreams, he finds himself back there. The wallpaper pulses like skin. The phone rings. And the voice says, "We haven't checked you out yet." Last week, his wife woke up with hotel shampoo in her hair. The towels in their home now read, 616, in red stitching. He unplugged all phones, but one still rings. Every night at 3:16. He no longer answers. 4. The forest trail that looped. Lena, an experienced hiker, ventured into the Black Hills of South Dakota. The trees were tall, thick, ancient, almost sacred. Around 5 p.m., she veered slightly off the path to explore a rocky slope. She walked for 15 minutes. Then turned back, but the path didn't lead back. It led, in a circle. She passed the same oddly twisted tree. Then again, and again, compass spinning, GPS frozen. She marked a tree with a knife. Walked 30 minutes east, the same tree, same fresh cut. She screamed. The forest echoed it back, but not in her voice. As night fell, her flashlight died. But the forest glowed faintly, like it was alive. Eyes blinked open in the bushes, dozens. Yellow, cat-like. She climbed a tree and tied herself with rope. At 2 a.m., something crawled up slowly beneath her. Long fingers, no face, only gurgling breath. She held her breath until it passed. In the morning, she was found by rangers. But the knife mark she'd carved was now healed. The tree smooth, untouched, like it had grown back overnight. And when they examined her rope, they found a second knot. A perfect noose, made by someone else, someone waiting. Weeks later, Lena coughed up pine needles in her sleep. She avoids trees now. But sometimes, when she dreams, she's still tied to that branch, still waiting to be pulled down. 5. The desert motel with no exit. Ahmed and Sammy were driving from Vegas to Phoenix when a sandstorm forced them to stop. They found an old motel, neon vacancy sign buzzing. No cars. No guests. Just one old man at the front desk. He gave them the key to room 3 without asking their names. Inside, the room smelled of rust and wet carpet. The window had no view. Just a wall of sand. At 3:33 a.m., a loud bang woke them, the door wide open. A single boot print in the center of the room. They shut it, locked it, pushed a chair against it. Next morning, they packed to leave, but the road curved oddly. After 20 minutes of driving, they were back in front of the same motel. Exactly the same buzz, same faded cactus billboard. They tried 3 different routes. All returned them. When they demanded answers, the clerk just smiled. Most guests don't realize they never left the highway. Sammy disappeared that night. Ahmed searched the whole property, found a crawlspace under room 4. Inside, dozens of motel keys, and a dusty journal. Last page read, "If you check in, don't sleep. That's when it marks you." Ahmed still drives endlessly, searching for a way out. The gas tank never empties. The sun never moves, and the motel is always just around the bend. Once, he saw a figure in the rearview mirror. It was Sammy. But his mouth was sewn shut, and his eyes were wide open. Recently, Ahmed started hearing the radio again. It only plays one song, a distorted version of the motel's doorbell. And whenever he closes his eyes, he dreams of room 3. Where the bed is full of sand, and something is breathing underneath it. Coming up next, that will haunt your nights and echo in your silence. Stay with us. The horror has just begun.